we had been. Do you support taxing online out-of-state retailers?
Yes, I do support taxing online out-of-state retailers, just because it helps to make it a level and fair playing field for our Main Street businesses here in South Dakota. It isn't really fair that you can be an online retailer, sell the same types of products, but then take advantage of the fact that, you know, I don't have to charge tax, but then Main Street retailers do. It's just an unfair advantage, and I think it's good for an opportunity to help raise a little bit more funds for our state revenue. So.
Likewise, I am in favor of taxation for online retailers. Very supportive of our local businesses, and again, it does level that playing field for the sort of mom and pop shop type business. Very important.
I don't know if you've noticed yet, but most of us agree on a lot of things because these are the people that really care about the things that are important to you. And online internet taxing is something that is important, and I believe that we should have it. I think it's something that'll raise some revenue for South Dakota, and if we can raise revenue for South Dakota, it must be a good idea. Now the important thing is after we get the money, what do we do with it? Let's make sure that we're spending that money correctly. That's why when I go to Pier, if you elect me, to go to Pier, I would like to be on the Appropriations Committee, and I'd like to be one of the people that makes sure that that money goes to where it needs to go. Thank you.
As I approach the mic on that question, it's kind of curious. I guess I better say I'm for it because I was on the subcommittee that's worked for it, and I think that was brought up at the special session this week. I think it came up twice. The governor listed my name and several other that served on the steering committee many years ago on the taxing of internet sales. We called it the streamlined sales tax for it. So yes, it is an issue that comes forward and that's needed to level a playing field for our local in-state businesses. But I better not change my mind.
Your name was mentioned, but I'm the one that made the vote, Paul, so I better be in favor of it as well. I do agree with the online sales tax collection, and it's just a fairness issue, and there were some naysayers that said, well, this is going to be too complicated. But in our day and age, when we've got all this technology, it's going to be an easy fix for those who are doing the tax collecting online. So it was a thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you again for the question, Jenny Hansen, House Candidate District 2. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, we need to collect. You know, what we're talking about here, we already were taxing those items that were coming in. You know, calling a use tax. So as consumers, it was our responsibility to write that check, you know, to our state. So I think that's the important thing. So this really just shifts where that's coming from, and I absolutely agree. As a state, we had seen some down revenue and things like that, so we needed to make sure that we're collecting that revenue for products coming into our state and doing that. And so I certainly agree, and I agree that we need to use some of that money, you know, looking at our support services as well as some of our mental health and prevention.
And my gut reaction is to be in favor of the online taxation also. I would, before I made an absolute decision on it, would want to get more information as to how it would impact our state, how it might impact other states that do and don't have it currently, and just get a little bit more information before I say absolutely this is the way to go.
May I have the question restated?
Do you support taxing online out-of-state retailers?
All right, just a little clarification. I think that what we're talking about is not taxing out-of-state retailers, but we're talking about taxing the citizens of South Dakota who are buying from out-of-state retailers. And like I said, this just was, the special session was pretty much a lot about this last week. And yes, we've already had ways to collect this tax. It was already on the books. It was just, we have now are changing how we are going to collect that tax. And so it's moving the burden of collecting the tax from the citizen onto the out-of-state business. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm in favor of seeing the sales taxes collected from out-of-state retailer or out-of-state salespeople. Sales tax, after all, is one of the major components of the taxation system in South Dakota, along with property taxes. So I think to have that falling down or a portion of that tax not being collected is not correct. So I believe that the legislature is correct in working on getting the issue straightened out so that tax can be collected.
I'm going to put just a little bit of a different spin on this one. As most of you know, we did have the special session this past week to enact the online sales tax, and that'll be beginning on, I believe, November 1st now. In 2016, when House Bill 1182 was enacted, which was the half-penny sales tax increase for teacher pay, there was an amendment added to that bill that said once the state of South Dakota is able to enforce the obligation to collect and remit sales taxes from online retailers, that the sales tax of South Dakota would go down by 0.1% for every additional $20 million we collect, which that proposal is pretty much revenue neutral. So now on Wednesday, the Department of Revenue testified that that amendment should not go into effect unless the legislature would change some of the verbiage in there. So the short answer is yes, I'm in favor of both online retailers and brick and mortar stores being taxed the same, but I would like to leave it revenue neutral if at all possible. This is probably in the area of about a $50 million tax increase for South Dakotans, which I don't think a lot of our rural economies can handle right now, or it's not going to help them. So I'd like to see it stay revenue neutral, but yes, I do believe that it should apply evenly to both online retailers and brick and mortar stores.